told you guys we're gonna do some FAQ. Because why not? We need some news. We need some fresh news out there. Now, this FAQ right here that I'm looking at, this very Discord post, is being released at 12th of February. Yeah, it's been out for some time, but I'm not sure everyone knows this, and therefore I'm here for you, Shadow Fighters, to actually know the FAQ that we currently have and what kind of questions and answers makes hint towards whatever future of the game that might be. So without anything further to say, let's hop into the first question that we have right here, dated at 12th of February, February 12th if you're American. So number 1, who's depicted on the logo of the game? Will it be present in the plot? On the game icon there is a collector image that does not relate to the plot, and its appearance in the game itself is not planned. Could actually ask the questions. Honestly though, I personally wasn't that curious about that logo myself, but it looks like there are several people who are speculating about that mysterious character that is in the logo itself, which is pretty understandable given that he have not made an appearance of the game. He was just shown up at the release of the game as some kind of Shadow Fight mascot for the transition of the Silhouette game to a 3D game. Well, that's pretty understandable, but for my own part, I wasn't that curious, because if he was added, well, that would be interesting to check out what this name was. But if he wasn't added, I wouldn't mind. So, there you have that thought from me, myself. Well, let's move on to question number 2. Will it be possible to get the Sphere Pilgrim skin through the event? The Sphere Pilgrim was a unique reward for the New Year's event. We have no plans to make it available anywhere else yet, so we shouldn't wait for it anytime soon. Because in the previous FAQ video that I covered, if I'm not mistaken right there, I concluded one of those questions on which that the lottery, was it New Year's lottery exclusive weapons and skin was going to be available elsewhere. But then some other people might be asking whether the skin going to be added or not, and I was thinking it might be unnecessary to ask it, but as the answer turned out, maybe it was, because the developers are saying not now, we won't expect it anytime soon. And they also wrote it like this, the Sphere Pilgrim, they wrote it like this, that we have no plans to make it available anywhere else yet. So it's just, they said it yet, so it could be later. It could be implemented into a New Year's event where you can actually try to get the skin. Now, let's play forward in time right here, because I did manage to get the Found One skin, because that needed a purchase apparently. So there it goes with that. But let's just get back to the Sphere Pilgrim. So maybe it's going to be added in some New Year's event rework. Who knows really? Because the Christmas event was surely played in December, but was it really end of December? I'm not even that sure. It was like a pre-phase Star of Hope gameplay before we even got into this kind of the main Winter Frenzy 2.0 event. That was like the New Year-ish event that was being added. Well, let's see what happens in the future. Gotta be waiting to take whatever that we can take and make sure we actually get some progress. After all, the Shadow Fight 3 game has been going on for quite a long time. Now we move on to question number 3. Will there be special ability buttons, as it was present when playing as one of the characters in the E2's playing? And the answer is, we noticed that many of you really enjoy going through the E2's playing. And of course, when developing the next scoring missions, we will take this information into account, and in the future, perhaps there will be still such mechanics. Well, I actually enjoyed playing as Bolo E2, who threw down the sphere trap and meditate like I was having my lunchbox ready. So what I could say right there is, it would be pretty interesting if you added a set bonus that activate a special ability. Now, the first thing that comes into my mind is having an extra button if you equip the unique battle kata set that will actually summon those ice clones into attacking the opponent. That could be a thing, which makes the unique sets giving it a little bit more character and dynamic into itself. That would be something right there. But so far, it looks like, by the looks of the answers right here, that they were considering this feature because players actually enjoyed it from that one battle. So looks like that they're going to be adding that into plane, Marcus Plane, I believe, and perhaps in some other main quest that might be popping up right after at Marcus Plane. We're going to be seeing what happens. Looks like Nick is trying to not run out of ideas. They always try to be going up with some kind of lore and lore extension and try to stretch it as far as they can, which is pretty interesting to see how far they want to stretch it to where it can stretch, really. Number 4. Do you plan on fixing overly strong event bosses? It is impossible to play when they constantly kill from a combo. In new events, the damage was adequate. All old events have no balance. Already, we are consistently reworking the balancing events as they come out. Since we see a lot of positive feedback about new events, we strive to rework old ones so that they are as interesting as new ones. And I'd say you need a ton of combo to try to deal with the stage 8 bosses, stage 6, last stage bosses, mini bosses, whatever you want to call it. They take quite a long time with whatever faction there might be, because they take solo damage and they can already deal very high damage back to you, and that's simply the event right here. And I could definitely understand why not that many people like it, but a plus would be for me recording these videos before is that I managed to try to find ways and show you guys how I actually deal with those kinds of bosses. But now with the rework, it looks like the temper is gonna go down with the combos and the damage distribution and the damage that the player and the bot does, which can also give a plus into trying to grind the event out a little bit, because when you face those last stage bosses, they're going to be taking some time before they actually get knocked down, because they take like 3% HP or something per attack per combo there might be, and that was simply it. Now with the rework, it looks like we're going to be getting a little bit faster pace in the grinding. Who knows, really? Maybe they're also going to be adding some new adjustments or adding some new stuff. I'm not even sure what they're going to be planning to add, but that's all the intel we know so far, so maybe it is going to be somewhere promising within the development of the events. Of course, events do roulette, they do go around in some kind of hamster wheel. I'm going back into having Pixelgun 3D mentality with that, but what I'm meaning is that events do return. Those old events return because the developers are planning to add new events. So considering this option, it could make those old events kind of revived and have a fresh life again for us to play. Depends on how they want to rework that. Moving on to question number 5. Will it be possible to reread the dialogues of all characters from all chapters and transformations? Our team is considering adding such a feature, but there's no final decision at the moment. With this being said, it would be interesting to try to read them all back. Of course, I tried to record, for example, the Eater's Play Part 3 whenever that was released. And as it turns out, I managed to just not accidentally not record the screen for the first half of the Part 3, but I had the voice memo for the Part 3 gameplay that was going through, so I was only being able to do a fully fledged video on Eater's Play Part 3 Part 2, my own part. So if I were looking at all the dialogues that was going through the main story right here, it could refresh my mind and perhaps some other lore interested players to refresh their own minds into understanding a little bit better, perhaps discovering something new about the story itself instead of reading from a fandom page from Shadow Fight 3. That, I think, would be a more adequate solution for us who might want to understand story from that way, because that is the only way you could try to, that is the best way you could try to understand story, is to read from the game, not read from a fandom page, really. Number 6, will there be new quest chests? No, new types of chests are not planned, since at the current stage we do not see the need of them. I mean, we have the quest chests were previously dual chests with 4 slots, and you can already fill those 4 slots, but they needed some time before opening. That was like the first dual implementation of the game, and also broadening the spectrum of whatever kind of availability you have in the game. And as the times went by, and the developers were considering to add new dual chests. Those old dual chests were now moved over into quest chests, where they have their own mechanics into which we all know get keys to get them. But still, I am a little bit disappointed into the fact that we cannot keep collecting the keys, even though we have a ton of keys. I have a keys back right now in Shadow Fight 3 that I've hardly been using for quite a while right now, given that I've been playing mostly Shadow Fight Arena, 4 months old game almost. Those kinds of chests right here, I want them. I want more keys for them. I'm sure everyone wants more keys for them. But the disadvantage, the main disadvantage of actually having those quests, finished quests locked for spending all those keys into opening all those chests, is that the developers are also adding certain types of ways to get points from events. They add this kind of way to get points by opening quest chests or try to finish some quests into getting points, which is a downside for people who have a keys bank. Get what I mean? I tried to explain it a little bit easier. For people who have a keys bank, they won't be able to finish any kind of quest that revolves around finishing quests. That's simply it. Because there have been certain events that implemented this kind of possibility, but for people who have a keys bank, they did not have the opportunity to get points from there, which could have been another opportunity to speed up the marathon walkthrough for their own part. So, going a little bit more off right there, let's get back into the main point right here, which is, why do you really want them, really? Like, I'm having the same standpoint as the developers right now. Is there really need for more quest chests? Like, for what purpose? We already have rare, epic, and legendary quest chests. The common one was just discarded, given that so many people were actually getting common chests from duels. And that was like the commodity back then in the older days whenever we all played Shadow Fight 3 and tried to earn some dual chests. Those common chests, man, pop, surprise, and there's a common chest every single day, filling up your 4 slots. But still, I don't see any need in them either. I just simply don't. So we go to question number 7. That was a big derail, honestly, but we move on. Will power parameters appear in the collection section for equipment without a set bonus? The situation when strength is displayed only for sets with bonuses is a bug. Strength should be displayed whenever the equip button is used. We will definitely fix this in one of the next updates. I'd rather say to you, Neki, that displaying the strength parameter onto those sets only was already a better option than just adding the strength parameter. I don't know really what the reason you guys have into which having to only show the strength parameter when you equip them. It would be more proper to actually show the strength parameter on all the sets that you have in the gallery, in the collections. That way players can know what kind of power the total of that set has, which is a plus by itself. If you have a gallery that shows no power parameters, it's still okay though, but it could be better in one way to have strength parameters for every single set that you have implemented into the gallery. That's what I'd say. But if that's what the developers are doing, then it's their decision. I'd rather suggest something that might be better and give a little bit more clear view on the gallery itself. It might be a certain information that players might want to need if they want to use sets for running duels, for instance, and perhaps some other implementations that the developers might be planning to add in the future of Shadow Fight 3. We have yet to see the social features, we are yet to see the class. Maybe those parameters are going to be for some use in something between those new features that are going to be added. Who knows, really? So moving on to question number 8. Will it be possible to save your own sets, or at least sort of equipment, in your inventory by faction or rarity? At the moment, we do not have a solution on how to implement this within the framework of the current interface and future plans, so this issue remains open for now. To save your own sets, or at least sort of equipment in inventory by faction, I kind of didn't understand. I kind of think it is same as having loadouts or having like say kind of sets for that and that faction, or that you can have set equipment 1, equipment 2, and equipment 3, in which whatever equipment you like to, you can just mix and match. I think that's what that guy's trying to, or people had tried to ask right here, in which could be a good way to try to exchange between builds and exchange between kind of sets and builds that might be used for that and that purpose. So I'm definitely agreeing with the people who might be asking or meaning that in that way, because there might be people who want to have a type of build over here that works for duels, a type of build that works for some other features for events, so they go with that type of build, and then another type of build that might be going for utilities or whatever that might be, just casual build, whatever that could have been. That could be something. I'm definitely open for that. Number 9, when will PvP mode be available? Our position on this issue remains unchanged. Integrating a full-fledged PvP mode into Shadowfight 3 is an extremely difficult task, taking into account all the features of mobile platforms and networks. Now the team is working on finalizing these tasks in Shadowfight Arena, and if we realize that we are ready to implement PvP in Shadowfight 3, then we will definitely release it. Speaking of which, it looks like the developers have indeed taken a pause from developing a PvP into Shadowfight 3, only to try to give that finishing touch for Shadowfight Arena, which I can understand why they want to do it, in which perhaps it was a good idea to make that Shadowfight 3 spin-off game in Shadowfight Arena where PvP could be implemented. So, turns out it was working right after all in that way. Although you might find it silly that the developers are just popping on into making or hiring another team. You might be thinking that they split a team, but looks like they just hired another team into having a flow with developing a new game, whilst they have the team to have their own flow working on Shadowfight 3. But if you don't believe that, well, what else can I say to you then? So given that their developers have gone stale onto Shadowfight 3 PvP development, is for that particular reason, I suppose, so that they can actually check out how it is with the Shadowfight Arena so far with their own kind of PvP network system setup. Of course, it is locked onto regions, which is the downside. Fortunately, I might say it again, I can actually play in North American servers with VPN, and therefore I might be making a video where I may make a series of boss modded fights North America. Who knows, maybe that could be a thing too in the series. Man, that would be like a double series into one game, just because of how the developers have shaped their servers networks. That's still possible though, I must say so myself. So, considering that they have been finalizing the tasks in Shadowfight Arena, maybe they want to finalize it and then have a proper view onto how well they worked with their network for Shadowfight Arena, and if they so happen to figure out that they can use a similar strategy, maybe they're on their way to finalize their Shadowfight 3 PvP project right there. And whenever they have Shadowfight 3 PvP project, when that's finished, they can add whatever kind of extension that might be into it, which could be very, very interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to see what the developers might be adding to there, and that would give a little bit more life into Shadowfight 3 again whenever we have PvP. So I'm definitely quite open to whatever that might happen within this kind of scope of Shadowfight games. Moving on to question number 10. Will other styles from Shadowfight 2 besides the Blade Sword, such as scythes, pneumo fists, or telescopic staff be added? We understand your interest in the styles from Shadowfight 2, and of course we are considering the possibility, but the development of the new content is a dynamic process, so it is impossible to say with certainty what other styles will be added in the future. I'd say that adding these Shadowfight 2 kinds of styles and weapons could be interesting. Of course, we have those futuristic kinds of tonfas. We know that we having tonfas. We have some Shadowfight 2 moves, guys. We have some Shadowfight 2 moves. Typhoon got a little bit different animation. We have the Skyfall, We have blade dance that is also behaving a little bit differently. But weapon based, we have staff, we have sabers. What else do we have? We have nunchucks even. Although it isn't double, so you could say it's partly Shadow Fight 2 from Shadow Fight 2, but only made for Shadow Fight 3 purposes. Maybe they're gonna add nunchucks as their own kind of weapon, dual nunchucks, or maybe that could be a variety of nunchuck, but that would then mix up the styles a little bit within its own scope. I am not entirely sure about that, but what I'd say is if there's going to be any development which Shadow Fight 2 styles, definitely open for it. We have those hacker knives that was kind of wonky to play with when I first entered chapter 7 back then, very long time ago, whenever I wasn't even making videos of Shadow Fight 3, but playing with those hacker knives in Shadow Fight 3, yeah, it was looking elegant, but it was hard to actually execute any good combos with it. But now I might be trying again after some time, even though I pretty much abandoned that silhouette game, but it still has the Shadow Fight character in the silhouette game. So I'm definitely happy with that. Back to considering the Shadow Fight 2 weapons. Maybe it is possible to add some Shadow Fight 2. After all, the game is developed into a trilogy, so the possibilities can be open, but as the developer said, it's a dynamic process. Impossible to say what can be added and what won't be added into the Shadow Fight 3 game. So there you have it, guys. That's all the questions and answers and reflections and thoughts about it from me, myself, Boston Modder. If you guys did enjoy this current FAQ cover-up video by me, be sure to hit that like button to show support, because we're taking some baby steps to getting back into some more consistency during the winter break right here. And right after, we're going to be continuing our Boston Modder Fights Europe series and some other fancy builds in Shadow Fight 3 with some fun heroes, and not to mention the level 10 heroes is starting to be developing on the way, but we have some few adjustments with some heroes that are not at level 10 that want to level up a little bit, so you guys will be checking that out. And until then, guys, I'll catch you guys in another one.